Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today we're talking blogs, everybody's favorite topic. Maybe not, I don't really know. But we are talking about blogs, and we're talking about 3 ways to optimize your blog and get more traffic. So we're going to dive in. I have a very special guest with me today, John Clements. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Brandon, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited.
So let's just fact check right off the bat. Are blogs everyone's favorite topic? Did I lie?
They are actually everyone's favorite topic.
Okay.
I can make up some statistics to show you if you want.
Perfect. I'm glad you backed it up with stats because I'm all about just making things up. But not about this, because this is an important topic, and blogs. It's a topic we haven't covered a whole lot on this show. And I was telling you before we started recording, I actually can't remember the last time we talked about blogs on this show. So I'm really excited to dive in here and hear what you have to say. So before we get into the 3 things you could do to increase your traffic, talk to me about what you do in the space of blogs and helping people with their blogs.
Yeah, so I'm an editor and a writer. So what that means is basically I can kind of do anything that you need done if it has to do with words. But for a lot of people, maybe you've tried blogging and you've got 5 or 10 posts and you're just not getting anywhere with them. So one of the things that I can do is I can actually come in and do a whole bunch of stuff that's basically, like, the technical word would be SEO optimization, right? But what does that really mean? I can fix it to where they read super well, where they're engaging, where they're giving your readers value, and where they're driving them along that customer journey that you have. And so that's kind of one of the services I provide that we're going to talk a little bit about today, is just taking what you already have and making it align with your business goals better, and actually getting that to, grow your business as opposed to just taking up space on your website.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this conversation is for business owners, entrepreneurs who have blogs. I know people have travel blogs and they make money from their blogs. It's not that you may help those people. That's not my focus with this episode. I just want to clearly state that. But I also, this popped in my head before we get into what we're going to talk about. Where do you fall on the line of AI and blogs? And the only reason I'm asking, as you start laughing, is that's obviously a big topic because people understand the value of blogs. They understand the resources you can gain from a blog in terms of traffic, revenue, sponsorship, whatever. And they want to take the easy way out and just put it through ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, and spit out a blog. So can you just dispel any myths before we dive in here? Because I want people to take this seriously and be doing it the right way.
Yeah. So let me say a couple things. Number one, I hate to break it to anyone. AI is not a cheat code to success. That is not what AI does. So, like, to your example, if you just say, oh, let's go to ChatGPT and say, write me a blog post, ChatGPT, it's going to spit out crap. That's what it's going to spit out, because you have to know something about prompt engineering to make it do what you want it to do. Now, that being said, the best way to look at AI is to look at it as an assistant and not an employee. So here, let me just tell you how I use AI for my blog. I use it for brainstorming. I use it for targeted Google searching. If I need to be a little bit more surgical than just a normal Google search. And those are kind of the 2 things I use it for, honestly, because the rest of it needs to come from me, because my blog is about my voice and my relationship with my readers. And if I just cheap out and just take the easy way out with AI, that's not going to happen. It's not going to resonate. It's just going to be words on a page. So by all means, use it for what it's good at, which is brainstorming and a few other things to help with research, get you unstuck if you're stuck on a point. But for the love of God, don't let it do your writing for you or your thinking for you. So that's my AI spiel in a nutshell.
I love it. Oh man, there's so many people who have outsourced their thinking for years now. So please don't outsource it to AI. Use whatever sources you were using before. Okay, but let's dive in. Enough about those people because they're not listening to this show. Three things you could do to increase your blog's traffic and effectiveness. Where do we want to start with this?
Yeah, and actually, as we get into this, I just want to let your listeners know as well that we're specifically speaking about blogs, but this works for social media posts as well. This works for your email newsletter. So don't just think this is only for blogs. This is really for any written content. We're just talking about blogs right now. So that's out there. I think we should start with the beginning, and that's if you want to have effective written content, if you want your blog to pop, you need to have a good introduction. So think about the first sentence or the first paragraph of your most recent blog post. Is it engaging? Does it catch the reader's attention? Does it hook them in some way that makes them want to continue reading? If it doesn't, then you need to go rewrite that, because otherwise you're just going to get lost in a sea of mediocrity. And then we're just going to go right on to the next thing. So like the number one tip, if you want to grab anything from this episode, look at your introductions. Do they hook the reader? And so the next question is, how do you hook a reader? And there's a couple ways. There's 1,000 ways you can do it. A couple ways I like to do. Number one, you can use a statistic. Just make sure they're not made up, right? Like I said, make sure they're a real statistic. Enlighten your customer, your reader in some way. Use a provocative statement. So like if you're writing a blog about AI, say, don't use AI if you want to get results, right? That's contrarian. That's going to stop people in their tracks and go, what is he talking about? I need to learn more. Or one of the best ways is just to tie your personal story into your brand. So if you're writing about a subject you're passionate about and you have an experience that relates, man, start with that. Like start with your story, and that's going to connect with people as well. So that's just a couple of ideas about how to hook your readers. And that's really the most important thing I think you can do, because that's going to help you stand out and get people engaged to begin with.
And is this potentially where the AI conversation would come in? Because in terms of hooking your readers, you obviously have to know your audience. And I don't want if that's point two or three, I don't want to skip ahead. But to do that audience research and really understand what's going to interest them, what's going to engage them, because I guess there's two sides, right? It's what's going to interest the audience, and then what interests you as the writer, the business owner, whatever. You could find a topic very, very interesting and write all day about it. But if your audience, your customers could care less, I mean, it doesn't matter how interesting it is, right? So how do we really find content that's going to interest our audience and that we can write about in an engaging way?
Yeah, man, what a great question. I think personally for me, like that's really why I got into the business that I got into, is because I'm passionate about editing. I'm passionate about the English language, and I'm reaching out to people who know that there's value in that and want to learn more about that. So for me personally, like that's why I got into business to begin with. But I think for business owners in general, I think it's all about growing an audience that is passionate about those things too, because really, like, that's who you're selling to. If I'm not interested in what you have to sell, it kind of doesn't matter what I think. So like for me, tying your passion and your business together and presenting it in that manner is going to attract the type of people that are going to be interested in that subject as well. So that's how I approach it.
I like it. All right, that's a really good first tip. So what's number two?
So number two is something that we don't think about really at all. And it's going to sound super pedantic and nerdy, but that's okay because I am a nerd. But the answer is look at your formatting. And you say, okay, well, who cares about formatting, John? Well, actually, lots of people care because of a couple things. Number one, anyone who's reading your blog, your LinkedIn post, whatever it might be, they're reading it on a screen. And a lot of them, most of them, in fact, are reading on their phone's screen. So now just think about this. Think about the last time you checked your email on your phone and you got a big, long email that was nothing but a giant wall of text. Now, I don't know about you, but when I get those emails, my first thought is, well, I guess I'm never reading that email. I guess I'm not going to know what that's about, right?
Yes.
It's so hard. So do your readers a favor and make things easier for them. That means formatting. So it's super easy, okay? A couple easy tips. Number one, write short sentences and make your paragraphs short. So literally all you have to do is every couple, 2 or 3 sentences, just hit the return key a couple times. Boom. Now you've got white space. Now your mobile users are going to have a much better time with it. Then also you can do things like having headers that kind of show the flow of your logical progression, because most of us skim before we read. So give your skimmers value to help them go back and go, okay, now I know what this is about. Now I want to read more. You can do the same thing with call outs and quotes and graphics, right? Like do whatever you can do to make that person who just clicks on that link to give them reasons to stay. And formatting has such a big piece of that to make that happen. So really formatting is super important. We always forget about it, but it can make or break your blog post.
On the headings topic, does that do anything for SEO as well?
It actually does. So if you look at Google's SEO computation, like what do they actually look at? It's like over 200 things. So it's not really reasonable to know all the things. But yes, headers is definitely one of the main things they look at, because that's going to tell them, do I have a well-structured article? Does this article go anywhere? Does it actually say anything? And that's going to help you rank higher.
So outside of a visual comfort piece, it's actually a strategic play to break up your article with headers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I like that. There's a lot to take in here. A quick note, just because I've never heard that before about the 200 pieces. Is there a way for people to look up what those things are? Because I would assume that's valuable knowledge.
There is. You know what? I actually have a link to an article that lists all of them. And if you want, I can send it to you and you can put it in the show notes if you'd like.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely include that down below wherever you're watching or listening. So we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So point number 3, what is the third tip you have for us?
Yeah. So rewrite your intros is point 1, formatting is point 2. So point 3, I said point 1 was the most important, but I actually think they're all the most important, if I can say that. So point 3 is make sure that whatever you're writing, wherever you're writing it, you include a call to action. So if you own a business or offer a service or product and you have people on your blog reading your social media, reading your newsletters, there's something you want them to do next. But the problem is they don't have any idea what that is unless you tell them, right? We get, like, I'm an editor, so I run an editing business. I get so wrapped up in that it's easy for me to just assume, oh, well, everyone knows what to do next. They should contact me. But if I don't tell them, they have no idea. So whatever you're writing, make sure at the end, or at the appropriate place, usually it's the end, you have a call to action that tells people what to do next, because we just don't know.
It's so obvious, but I'm sure you know this and you hinted at it, that most people don't do it, and we forget it. I'm curious though. I've heard this before I think in the context of delivering a speech or a talk or anything like that, that you actually want to precede that call to action and it becomes more effective. So instead of just waiting for the end where most people expect it, you actually precede it a little bit in this context, the second or third paragraph of a 10 paragraph blog. Have you done that? Have you tested that? And I'd be curious to see the side-by-side results.
Yeah, I haven't done any testing, unfortunately. So I love that idea. And honestly, like the things that I write, because I know that the CTA is coming, I naturally just write like that because that's just a part of my process. But here's what I would say for your listeners who maybe haven't done anything is just including it at all is much better than not. And then to take the next step of let's precede it, let's kind of have the whole flow of the article lead to the CTA. That's like step 2, right? That's like now we're making improvements on improvements. So that's kind of how I would handle it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's awesome. Step 1, do the basics, then graduate. I see that all the time. People want to graduate and they want to write next level out of this world blogs, whatever the thing is, and they've never written one. It's like, okay, well, just do the first thing first, please. I love this conversation. I'm curious now because this is a podcast, which is, in my opinion, kind of a form of a blog. How do you see people crossing over that that wall, if you will, and turning podcasts into blogs, turning blogs into podcasts, because both are valuable from an SEO and a branding perspective. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I love the most about having a blog is I can, and I actually have done this. I can take any blog post that I wrote and I can turn it into a YouTube video. I can turn it into a newsletter. I could turn it into a blog or a podcast episode if I wanted to. And the reverse is true, right? Like I just was on a podcast a few weeks ago and the host, that's exactly what she did. She turned our conversation into a blog, which in this case went on LinkedIn as a newsletter. And she was able to repurpose that information. So that's another thing people don't think about. You don't have to like recreate the wheel every single time. If you have one piece of content, you can do so many things with that content. And to your point, if you can be on your website and you can be on YouTube and you can be on Apple Podcasts and you can be on LinkedIn and Facebook, like so much more the better, right? Reuse that content. Why not? It's not illegal. No one's going to say anything. Just do it.
Well, it's all your content too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing. You're not stealing, you're not plagiarizing. In this case, if I were to do that, I would highlight you, and that's you would thank me then for that because now I'm featuring you in two mediums. Um, I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe you would thank. You seem like a nice guy.
I
I'm
would absolutely
assuming
thank you.
most people would thank the other person, but I think that's a fantastic approach and a really good tip. I'm also curious. That sounds like more work. Now, what I'm not saying is you should be doing all of those things, but for someone who would want to take that on, how much of that could be done by yourself, by a virtual assistant, someone who's on your staff, whatever that may be? Because you don't want to just post in a million different places and that's all you do. You have a business to run, right? So
Yeah.
once you have the content, like from let's use this episode as an example. You as my guest are going to get a copy of the transcript. So are we bringing AI back into the conversation? Are we bringing an assistant back into the conversation? How can we effectively turn this into a blog post or a newsletter, a LinkedIn post, whatever, without us as the business owner having to do that work?
Yeah, I mean AI could potentially help you in that situation. Now, if you do use AI, obviously, I mean, please go back and make sure you read through that and edit it before you post it, right? But it could get you the bare bones of what you need. So again, AI is your assistant, so use it as such. I also have a VA, so yeah, I use my virtual assistant to help me make video shorts that can go on Instagram, for example. So yeah, if you have that asset, perfect. I'm a little picky about the written content that I put out because of my job. So I tend to do it myself, but I also enjoy it, right? So you have to decide that for you. But, reaching out to, like I run an editing and writing agency, reaching out to an agency like mine, like we could do that work for you too. So there's a lot of avenues you can go. But I think, like, to answer your question, the best advice I can give is to not do everything at once, like we talked about, right? So have a plan, have some short-term goals, some midterm and some long-term goals, and then just work the plan, right? Get kind of master one medium and then move to the next and then master that. And if you do that, it's way more sustainable. It's a lot less scary. And once you master it, that's the time I think when you then can offload that to someone else. When you know exactly how to do it and what you're looking for, you're going to have a lot more success delegating. So that's kind of what I would say is just take that planned approach.
I love that tip, and it brings to mind. We've been doing this podcast for a year at this point, from when this episode goes live, which is pretty cool. And I have never turned one of these episodes into a blog. I think I've maybe even posted on social media a recap of like 10 of the 270 some odd episodes. Like that was my whole focus was I don't want to overwhelm myself, and which is why I asked the question in that way, because I see so many people who listen to podcasts, they watch videos, they read blogs, they get these ideas and they want to just layer them on. So thank you for saying that, where you don't want to overwhelm yourself and be the jack of all trades and master of none. Find something that's going to work for you. And I think that's why I bring experts like John on the show, because now you can write a blog and you don't have to take on the work. So John, I appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom around this. Where can people learn more about you, your company, and how you can help them grow their blog?
Yeah, you can find me in two places. Number one, you can go to my website, cedarpressproofreading.com, and you can learn about me. You can read my blog if you want. You can even book a call if you want. If you're interested in my services, we'll have a conversation just like I'm having with Brandon. It's super chill, super low key. It's just if we can help each other out. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can search for my name or Cedar Press Proofreading. Send me a connect request. We'll have a conversation that way. And basically, if I can help you make your business better, then let's do it. And if not, let's just be friends anyway.
I love it. I can attest. John's a cool guy. So you should be friends with him, and maybe you should have him help you grow your business too. But that was a great call to action. I wonder if you said like 5 minutes ago that people should reach out and book a call with you on your website. Maybe you did. Anyway, if anyone caught that and was listening close, I love it, John. I love to end these episodes though with one final question, and it's actually a question from you to the listeners. So we're talking about blogs. We're talking about how to increase your traffic and effectiveness. For someone who has a blog and they want to take it to the next level, they want to increase their traffic and effectiveness and grow their business because of it. What would be a question they can ask themselves so they can get either a better direction, better guidance from someone like yourself, or just optimize the way they're currently doing what they're doing? What do you have for them?
Oh man, what a wonderful question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. I'm trying to narrow it down to one thing because I have like 30 things in my in my brain.
You think of more after this, we'll put them in the show notes down below.
All right, cool. I think for me, with a blog, let's just put it this way. Am I treating my blog in a way that fosters my relationship with my readers and my customers?
I
I'll
like
just
that
leave with
question.
that.
That's a great question. And remember what John said earlier. Yes, the word blog was used, but email, social media, there's so many other mediums that we can apply this stuff to. So ask yourself that question. I like it. John, thank you so much for being here.
Man, thanks for having me.
For those of you watching and listening, wherever you are, down below is all of the links, everything John talked about. If he thinks of more questions after I stop recording, they will also be down there below. But make sure you go subscribe. We love putting these episodes out every single day of the week so that we can help you build a more harmonious business and life. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.